Okay, to get us started here, it would be great if each of you would give a brief overview of what you do for your various companies and what your companies do.
Thank you. Hi. Yes, I'm Richard Dowling. I'm SVP Consulting for Think Analytics. We're specialists in content recommendations, personalization, search, discovery, all those sorts of things, really enabling viewers to find content. That's kind of our key focus. But also it sort of moves on and connects to targeted advertising and customer segmentation data that informs and powers targeted advertising systems. So we're, I guess, the biggest in the world, certainly the biggest independent in the world at what we do, which represents something like 1 billion recommendations per day,
Oh, wow.
recommendation requests per day to 450 million people, viewers, which is getting on towards 90 operators. Hopefully by the end of this month, it'll be 90 operators that are using our service.
And when you say operators, you mean pay TV operators and other?
It's a mixture. It's pay TV operators, it's broadcasters, it's OTT providers, across the board.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. Thank you for that wonderful overview.
You're welcome.
David?
So I'm David Bouchier. We're one of those operators that take the product from Think. So my role is I'm the Chief TV and Entertainment Officer. We are a newly merged business here in the UK. We're the UK's largest cable operator and the UK's second largest mobile operator, hence Virgin Media O2. So we obviously have a tradition in pay TV, in linear, and embracing apps and on-demand. And the next challenge for us is bringing that content onto mobile.
Wonderful. Okay, so discovery and personalization, those are big challenges. How do you help operators do that? I mean, what's the secret sauce?
Well, I wouldn't say there's one secret sauce. It's really a range of different things that you need to be able to do. And it's all about trying to get the viewer to content quickly. I guess that's always the objective. Now, whether that's just a traditional sort of recommended for you type rail, which is kind of where the industry was, I don't know, 10 years ago, through to actually driving the entire user interface through personalization. And it's a case of having a range of different techniques, lots of different recommendation algorithms, plus the way that you treat them with business rules and a sort of a very easy to use back office tools, so that it's actually you're able to get advantage of the power that's in the engine. Sort of couple all that with understanding of who the viewers are and what their behaviors are. That's really, really important, especially when you combine that with sort of a detailed understanding of what the shows are. And it's kind of bringing those things together in real time and at scale.
How do you get that detailed understanding of the shows? I would imagine metadata and other things play a big role there.
Yeah, absolutely. So our customers generally have some metadata that they source from various different places, but we've got a whole set of AI techniques that go through that, through to sort of reading the synopsis and picking out keywords and features that describe that content in a sort of consistent way, through to being able to sort of scan the internet to get additional information, all the way through to the kind of the white glove service, if you like, is having people who actually go in and understand important titles and then create tags and descriptors for those. And that then becomes part of a database. And at the moment, we've got around 2 million titles in that database of things that are well described in terms of what the algorithms would like to see in a very controlled way. And there's 38,000 facets and features we can assign to those, which really allows you to find the similarity between content and also the differences between.
Right, so if I liked Peaky Blinders, I might then like this other show, that type of thing, right?
Indeed, it's that sort of thing. And there's a technique more like this or related content, right, which is doing just that.
Okay.
But also, as you interact with, say, Peaky Blinders or whatever the show is.
I love that show.
Well, then, you might like the SAS show that the same producers made. But yeah, so it's that, and it's also then building a profile about you in terms of those contents, those shows you love, also the shows you don't like, and to then direct your viewing towards things, helping you find within the large catalogs things that you might actually really enjoy, but maybe didn't know was there.
So David, I mean, obviously, you provide a wider range of content on the Virgin O2 service. How do you wind up manifesting personalization for your subscribers?
So I think, well, we do it in two ways. We use the technology that's just been described, but we also have an editorial team that run the front end of the set-top box. So the big challenge for me, and I think for other operators, is to be the go-to user interface. We've got to make sure that, whereas, you know, we have three key relationships as an operator that work very well in the current environment. We own the main television. We have great relationships with our customers through subscription, so we have an ongoing billing relationship with the customer, and we have great content relationships. And those are three key strengths that I think for a pay TV operator give us the opportunity to really remain the first place that customers go to choose their viewing experience. It's getting more and more challenging, and you saw on the screen there with the diversity of sources of recommendation, which can be friends and family, but what we find from our customers is that they are overwhelmed, that there is this sense of they know there's a lot out there, they know they're great shows, they can't remember what the shows are, and they can't remember which service they're on. You know, it's as basic as that. So cutting out the noise and having the ability to hyper-personalize, I think we're very well placed to do that because of the data we've got with the box, because of the relationship we have with the customer. We heard earlier about whether that's a 3-month relationship, depending on whether you drop a show all at once, or a longer relationship if you let it stay in the service for longer. Our customers have a much longer average life cycle with our business than that, and they are happy to sign up to long contracts, particularly with the broadband, with our mobile services. So for us, what's important is being the go-to service for video. So we've done that in a number of ways. Working with technology providers, we've added profiling into our set-top box. So we have a button on our set-top box that allows us allows customers to set up profiles like they can do within specific app services. The difference is, and I think we'll talk about this in a second if we've got time, is that we can sweep the data across services, which is very powerful. So if you take one of the most interesting things from my service in the last month was there was a boxing match here in the UK with Jake Paul, who's an influencer and an influencer boxer, not a professional boxer. We did as many buys in that boxing fight that we would expect to do with like an AJ or a big boxing name. So for me, the power is, as a service, to have that young audience that has watched a fight like that and be able to recommend them shows from areas that they may not traditionally think about to get something that they would watch. So not going just back to YouTube. YouTube is the third biggest service that is used on our set-top box. So it's the power of the aggregator, the super personalization that I think we are uniquely placed to offer, provided we keep that core position as the go-to user interface. It's really critical that they come to us first.
So when you talk about doing the profiling, does that mean if you're a family, you have separate profiles for each?
Yeah, it works in the same way as it does with Netflix and with others. But the beauty is that we can do the search and recommendation specifically for that profile, and it's also a kind of safe space because it's a family space where everyone is watching on the main screen with the set-top box.
Okay, that's interesting. So how do you wind up building and developing new applications of your service?
Well, in terms of search and recommendations, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, because content just continues to expand at an accelerated pace.
And for us, that's kind of a good thing.
Right.
You know, there's sort of the trends that we're seeing in the industry are that there's the traditional linear and then the SVOD and the broadcast VOD that was mentioned in the service, the presentation earlier. But then there's also the super aggregation play where you've got all sorts of different partners coming in and different apps that are becoming part of a main living room platform like the one at Virgin Media O2. And so it's been able to understand the content and the data from across those platforms and be able to recommend into those, and also with the profiles, being able to carry the profiles across the different ones. And so from our point of view, some of our operators, some of our customers are able to just sort of do that at a sort of high level, if you like, where they just know this show was launched from this part of our UI, and maybe don't know what's going on inside. Whereas others, because they get so much engagement through the proper main living room UI, if you like, some of these partners are quite happy to return data back about what's happening within their platform, so that they become more prominent within the user interface itself. And so it really becomes the viewer really wins, I think when that's happening, because they've got all of these different sets of content that they could access, and it's finding it for them. I mean, one of our customers has, over 2 million titles that are available at any time. It's humanly impossible to find something that you like from something like that, and an A to Z list isn't going to do it for you.
Right.
So, it's really driving viewers into the content that they like, and actually making the whole UI adapt to that.
Right.
That's something that is an increasing trend that we're seeing.
So I would imagine, and David, I'd love to hear your thoughts here, but I would imagine too, with a number of operators, you're taking these capabilities to help them actually figure out what type of bundle they may want to put together themselves in terms of SVOD services, plus whatever they might be getting on a linear basis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you can imagine, the data that we've always had as a business has been huge. I think I don't think I'm doing us a disservice by saying that we haven't monetized that or used it as effectively as we could have done. Now it's essential that we use the data forensically to understand, because the ability for our customers to switch in and switch out of SVOD and paid for video services dynamically means that if we can turn that into a strength, and we do, we can see the type of content that the customer's watching. We know the services that they go into on the set-top box. Therefore, we know when they stop using that particular service. So for us in crafting and moving beyond the traditional, the heavyweight pyramid of big basic going up to sport and film, those days are over. So we have a much more a pick and mix approach to the bundling. It's still a bundle in the sense that you pay a single monthly payment to us, but really it's a pick and mix arrangement within that. And using the data and understanding the viewership to, as I said, if it's something like, you wouldn't associate boxing with a youth demographic, but now we are able to do that. We're able to say, okay, well here we can triangulate a much broader set of data points for viewing behavior and interest within the household than virtually anyone else can do, because each of the SVOD providers has very good granular data, but within their firewalled environment. Right. We have less good data when they go into the app, which is one of the limitations, but that is changing. Now what we're finding is that the app providers understand that it's in their interest as well to try and get that kid that was watching Jake Paul to then go into Disney Plus. Right. So and have a pull away from something like YouTube. Or we're launching this year our own AVOD fast channels, and we're putting them in our electronic program guide. So that gives us, again, it's all about being front and center within the user interface to bring each of those. We have an entry point to Netflix in our EPG, so it's at 204. We have an entry point to Amazon Prime, which is at 205. It's all deliberately done to bring all of these new digital services into what you might see as a traditional environment of the electronic program guide, which then allows these guys and us to then have real granularity and personalization of their viewing habits and their preferred services, which, as you say, allows us to then build a personal bundle, which we will be even targeting in a much more personalized way this year to build and craft personal connectivity and video bundles for our customers.
And do you monetize that as well? Because I would imagine you have data that can help certain providers figure out who they should be promoting their service to, so you can charge for that.
I wish.
Okay, I know Roku does that very well.
Yeah, I think, look, the first stage for us is to monetize it as a business.
Right.
We are challenged in traditional paid pay TV. So I'm quite happy that we use the data for its primary purpose, which is to better monetize our own customer base. And then we do barter arrangements with a lot of content providers, okay. So that it's non-monetary, but it is mutually beneficial. Whether we have something that we can create a new business unit out of, it's probably a bit far away for us.
Well, I know we could go on for a while talking about other ways to monetize all the great things that you're doing together, but we have other sessions to do. So I don't even think we have time for questions. So, but thank you for this great conversation this morning.
Oh, thank you.